Hello everyone, welcome to this new episode of Swift Academy. Today we will go further with Swift testing. Especially we try to diving into fascinating and essential topic for developer, especially who used URLSession. It's using URL protocol stubbing techniques. When you are an iOS developer and you want to use URLSession, understanding how to efficiently stub URL protocol can save you a ton of time and attention during testing and development. URL protocol, it's really amazing with a lot of benefits that we will discover in this presentation. We'll discover how to work with URL loading system, how to can use URL protocol, and we'll speak about some limits. Let's go started. If you found this video help, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tips and tutorials. Okay, for the benefits of URL protocol stubbing or mocks, first of all, it's recommended by Apple, and especially for URLSession, and it gives us a lot of it hit testing code from production code, which is for me a great approach for doing testing. Also, there is other techniques to make that, but for me, using URL protocol, especially when using URLSession, it decouple test from production code, which is the most important thing, and we will discover that in the demo after the presentation. As I said, it hits a lot of testing code. It decouple in our production code from the testing. But before that, let's talk about what we call URL loading system. It's a URL loading system. All the call to API network, it's based on the URL loading system. It's composed of many API that can handle a network request, and we'll discover that in our presentation. I think there is 6 components of the URL loading system that we discover one by one. The first one, it's URLSession. URLSession, it's the primary class for making a network request. It manages a collection of network tasks like data task, download task, upload task, etc. It provides mechanism for handling authentication, caching, and background downloads. This is the first component, which is URLSession. We can go after that to URL request. URL request, it's encapsulate the details of network request, such as the URL, HTTP methods, headers, and body. We can add everything using URL request. It's really amazing to customize request behavior. The third element or the third component is URL response. URL response represents the metadata associated with the network response, something like the status code, especially the status code and headers. We can subclass URL response to check, make tests to check the status code, etc. The fourth element is URL session configuration. It configures the behavior of URL session instance. It includes setting for caching, cookie storage, protocol classes, and timeout value. And the fifth element, which is really important, it's URL session task. URL session task we will discover later. It's represent an individual network request. We can subclass include URL session data task, URL session data task, and URL download task, and also URL upload task if we want to upload data or download data. And there is also 6th element, which is, I didn't add that, which is URL session delegate, which give us a lot of function to handle the different related to URL session task. It includes methods for handling authentication, redirection, and task completion. Okay, that's for URL loading system. I will present some example of using URL loading system in code. The first thing is create URL session configuration. We can create URL configuration like that. There is a lot of types. There is the caching system, the ephemeral, the default URL session configuration, and we'll use the URL session configuration after that to specify some what we call protocol classes, etc. URL session, it's created based on URL session configuration. As you can see, we have created URL session based on our configuration, URL session configuration. But we can also create what we call URL requests that define, as I said, headers, element of body that we want to send, etc. HTTP method, all these things. We can send also some cookies, etc. in the request. And this is an example on Swift using that. And the last steps to launch our session is to use the request to retrieve what we call URL session task. I type this using the new Swift concurrency. That's why you find it's some different from the session using callbacks, etc. When we discover you handle URL response, error, etc. But now it's more simplified using the new Swift concurrency. How we can use now URL protocol? URL protocol is something very great. It's an element, it's a part of URL loading system, and URL protocol, using URL protocol by techniques of stubbing, can give us a possibility to customize how we can handle our request. It's a part, as I said, of the URL loading system that allows us customization of all the behavior of request. This is the first thing. The second thing, it's by using technique of subclassing, we can intercept and manipulate request and response using like a staging environment, etc. Using URL protocol, we can create what we call subclassing techniques of stubbing that we can use to mock, if you can say, the URL protocol. There is two class function and two sample class that we can override. The can init function, it's really amazing. It gives us the possibility to this method should generally return true if this protocol should handle the request, and false otherwise. The canonical request, to understand what means by the canonical request, is kind of normalized form of the request that can be used to compare requests or to create what we call cache keys. The request parameter in the URL request that need to be canonicalized, if I can say. And we have also the start loading function. It's where we handle the request and provide the response. Very important function. But for the stop loading, generally we didn't use that in our system of custom URL protocol. That a sample explanation of the custom URL protocol. There is also the using of the client in the start loading. As you can see, there is a lot of function related of what we call URL protocol client. We handle all the life cycle of our communication with the faking API using this client. We can handle errors, how did finish loading, how do we handle the fake response, URL response, or the response data. That's for the custom URL protocol. We can also say that we can use techniques of stubs. As you can see, I have a test URLs, which is a dictionary, and this dictionary it's about the fake URL, and also for this URL how we can have a fake data correspond to this URL. we can handle for different kind of URLs. Now we can speak about some limits using this kind of solution for mocking. This kind is, as I said in the beginning, it's a custom URL protocol that can be more complex, as you can see, and time consuming compared to using sample mocking library like Swifty mocking, or using what we call protocol mocking techniques. URLProtocol Stubbing is limited to URLSession based networking. We can not use it with Alamofire or Moya that need other techniques. It's not suited. It's not adapted for this kind of library. Each test may require extensive setup to configure the URL protocol. It need making the test code verbose. It's not simple, but for me, by the time we can adapt with these techniques. It's not my favorite techniques, but we can use. Thank you very much, and we can pass to the demo. Now to the practical part to apply things about URL, how to use URL protocol. We will try to first of all update our configuration and related our configuration protocol classes to the mocked URL protocol like this, using configuration.protocol classes, and I will try to think about mock URL protocol classes that I will implement now, and it will override. It will try to override the 4 methods that I spoke about in the presentation. We have the can init, the canonical request, the start loading, and we finish to the stop loading. Now we have all this information we have prepared, and we're missing some to configure and to override these 4 methods. For the can init, generally we return true, and for the canonical request we keep the same request sent. And now it comes to implement the most important function, which is the start loading. For that, I think about using some request handler. It's a callback, a closure, that when I send a request, it gives me as a response a fake URL response with the JSON data that I created, the fake JSON data. This request handler, it will be a class variable using a static variable, and when it's a function, it's closure, it's a function with a URL request, and that return to me URL response with the data. Okay, because it's throws and also the data, it should be unwrapped. That's why I should go to the first to the JSON data and unwrap it. We find that now. Okay, I should unwrap, as you can see, and our HTTP our data. Okay, now we have prepared the request handler, and we will use it in our start loading, because when we will call our function, our request handler, we want to retrieve a fake HTTP URL response and also the mocked data. That's why before that I will check if I get a handler, because it's optional. It's for safety that I do that, and after that I will try to call our request handler using the request that I started in the canonical request, and for that I use the same request as you can see, a handler with the request launched by the mock URL protocol. As you can see, it's a URL request, and after calling the handler, I will normally have the response and the data from my test. I will launch or execute two calls to the URL protocol using the client. And the client, it's URL protocol client, which have different methods that you can see. There's a lot of methods to handle all the life cycle of our URL loading system. We begin with the first method, which is finish loading with the data, and also with the response. Did receive, also self. Our response that come from our testing now, not from the real core of the API. And now with the data, the fake data that I send when I call my callbacks. And the important thing is to finish, to inform our URL loading system that everything is correct now. We have the URL response, we have the data. Finish your system loading. And if somewhere we want to test if we have some problem, etc., in failing, error, etc., we can use the client URL protocol to launch with the did fail with error. I think that everything is correct now. We can launch our testing. As you can see, the test now, all tests work, great. And we can add the other attribute such as the name and the email. As you can see, we have the name, email. We can test now our expect using the new Swift testing. And for me, it's great to use this URL protocol as such great techniques, especially when you use URLSession in the without Swift concurrency or with Swift concurrency. Okay, we launch from our tags and everything, it's great. Thank you.